Hi, everyone. It's so great to see you. I know most of you in here. It's lovely. What a beautiful room. I'm just so grateful to be here. Thank you so much to Evergreen for inviting me to be here today to join you to present this Understanding Mindfulness. I've been a certified coach, but I'm here with you basically as a human being. Navigating life's challenges just like everybody else. So today I'm going to share with you some of what I've learned through training as a coach and practicing mindfulness myself. So in that way you may be able to understand it a little bit more and benefit from mindfulness practicing. So we've all learned that physical fitness is really good for us. You remember Jane Fonda in the 70s? Oh, it was so good. And we knew that, physical fitness, and we know more and more now about how really great it is for our health. But now, more and more focus has been put on mental and emotional fitness, especially as we're moving through this pandemic, as well as climate change and so many other very disastrous things going on. So just a little backdrop on mindfulness, that it has been practiced for thousands of years, but it only came more popular in the West just recently. It is now used in hospitals, schools, prisons, athletic training programs, and in the workplace. So what I'm going to do today is go through what is mindfulness and how that mindfulness affects the brain-body connection, as well as mindfulness for stress reduction and emotional regulation. And then I'm going to suggest some simple steps for you to practice in your everyday life, and that may help you with your mindfulness journey. So, how do we start with that now? This is where I kind of started. That's kind of where I started. I didn't know how to begin. How do you do mindfulness? So, you don't have to sit down with a yogi pose per se to do mindfulness. It's basically, your mind could be racing around and not knowing what to expect, but mindful meditation looks like this if you would go into the yogi pose, but that's not how it looks like in everyday life. So you don't need to make any pose. You can be mindful anytime, anywhere, like stealth under the radar. So what is mindfulness? I really like this description from the University of Minnesota, and I'm just going to read exactly how they put it. I thought it was very well done. When we think of mindfulness as a purpose or a flow, we begin to think about mindfulness when we are starting with an intention to be in the present moment, to cultivate wakefulness. And it is with this intention that we can then place our attention on a particular experience. And when we first begin, placing our attention on our breath and our body is extremely supportive, because the body and the breath are in the present moment. And with this intention to place attention with our body and breath, we start to develop a feedback loop where intention supports the attention and our continuing attention keep the attention going. So that is where we can experience those moments of feeling present and of being mindful. It would be great if that's where the story ended, but we take a detour when there's a distraction. So we get lost in a thought or in a feeling or a sensation that we were pulled into as an experience. And we cannot recognize that we are in the experience rather than being aware of the experience. So fortunately, at some point, we'll wake up. And when we wake up, this is where we can start on to the next component, which is attitude. If in that moment our attitude is of self-judgment or criticism, then that will pull us right back into being lost. But if we can cultivate this attitude of non-judging, of acceptance, kindness, and patience, of understanding, then that is what will allow us to reconnect with our intention, and this intention to be wakeful, and we simply start this again without judgment at this moment. So starting again is in a real sense a radical act of self-kindness. So we can see this entire process as a flow. So the skill is learning to cultivate this way of paying attention so that we can allow whatever is folding to unfold. So let's think of it in a sort of a metaphorical way. And this is, again, from the University of Minnesota. I thought it was so great. They had this frog on a lily pad. But what I'm going to do is sort of put myself into my own little metaphor. Because we all can use whatever we wish, whatever works for us. So I thought to myself, well, this will work for me. I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to look at it this way. I'm on a raft floating on top of the water. And you know I love lakes. So I'm just there. And I'm sitting on the raft and I'm intending to pay attention to whatever is. Then there's a distraction. A fly's buzzing around. And all of a sudden I fall off the raft. And I'm lost in that experience. And I'm drifting away from the raft, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, and I wake. Okay, that happened, so there's your no judgment. And then I swim back to the raft, and I start again. So mindfulness and the body-brain connection, there's the threat response versus the thoughtful response, and I'm going to speak to the development of new neural pathways. So our body responds to every thought or emotion. It's all connected. Thoughts change our physical responses, and feelings alter thoughts. For example, think of a lemon wedge at the moment. Put that lemon wedge in your mouth right now. Great. Bite right into it. What's happening? Are you feeling yourself pucker? I am. And my mouth is watering. So isn't it a beautiful thing how that is an instantaneous kind of thing? All you're doing is thinking about it. That connection is there. So when we were speaking to the threat response versus thoughtful response, the area of the brain associated with the threat response is called the amygdala. It was highly effective when we were running away from lions and tigers and bears that wanted to eat us for lunch. We're a great meal. But in that threat response, it was, really great at that time that, that amygdala kicked in. In that threat response, your body produces an adrenaline rush. And that increases your heart rate, elevates your respiration, tenses your muscles, and changes your blood flow. So it's highly effective when you're in a dangerous situation, but not in most of our day-to-day experiences. So many of us have an overreaction to experiences that are not dangerous. While the area of the brain that is associated with thoughtful responses, it's called the prefrontal cortex. It's our thinking brain. It is our executive control. This gives us the ability to change our thoughts at any moment, anywhere, no matter what is happening around us. So here's Sue driving her tiny little hybrid car. Cool car, right? Says not many people. Okay, so let's say I'm on the way to the grocery store, and I'm just, thinking about, what I'm going to do, for dinner tonight. And all of a sudden I'm caught off. Whoa! And I swerve. The threat response works incredibly well at that time. That amygdala is so helpful right at that very moment. Your muscles are all of a sudden working really well in quick motion. Well, there was no collision. I'm safe. So I can intentionally choose at that moment to use my thoughtful response mechanisms with that prefrontal cortex and intentionally pay attention to my breath, calm myself down and the body, and just carry on with no further attachment to the event. So I'm back on my raft now, and I'm using that response that I choose to use. If I didn't do that, a couple of seconds after that swerve, and I was all of a sudden pausing, and all of a sudden I got angry, well, here comes that amygdala back into play again, that fight, flight, freeze. The danger is gone, but now I've heightened that back up again and continued with it, and I start shaking like a leaf. The adrenaline is just pumping me right up. So those were there's the choice in what to do there. So, let's just practice a moment doing a body scan for yourself, just for yourself. You don't have to close your eyes. You don't have to be in any specific posture. Just take a moment to be present. Set your intention to just pay attention, whether it's to your breath, what you're feeling in your body, what you see, smell, or hear. And if thoughts arise, that's okay. Let it be there, no judgment, whatever it is. Then let it go. So practicing mindfulness also creates new neural pathways. So here it is, a picture of it. The amygdala deep at the base of the brain, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. So neuroimaging has shown that those who practice mindfulness have a reduction in size of the amygdala while the prefrontal cortex is larger. The part of the brain that regulates emotion, called the hippocampus, that too has shown to increase in density for those who practice mindfulness and have, in result, improved emotional regulation. So mindfulness enhances attention control, working memory, cognitive skills, clarity, decision-making, and mental efficiency. Oh my. Okay, who has experienced that? That's what overwhelm pretty much looks like. Our thoughts are out of control. We're putting in too much. We're thinking about things in past or future that are totally out of our control. It just feels too much. Watching the news all day will do that. Information is good, but watching it all day long and just absorbing all day and not being able to come out of it is very, very difficult. So, mindfulness for stress reduction and emotional regulation. So what I'm going to discuss is shifting your state, having a non-judging, open attitude, and reperceive thoughts to manage emotions and lessen reactivity. So under stress, your thoughts race in cycles that are really hard to escape. You might feel restless and anxious, unable to concentrate. You might become irritable, impulsive, angry, or aggressive. Over time, you might experience insomnia, reduced pain tolerance, and hypervigilance. So it's helpful to mindfully practice shifting out of an aroused state to a relaxed state where your body and mind can be at rest. Us humans tend to resist experiences we find uncomfortable. But we can shift our focus to see challenges as a guidepost and a way to grow. An open attitude leads to a greater acceptance of what is happening, improved ability to tolerate difficult situations, and a lessening of reactivity and repetitive negative thinking. So our reality is what we focus on and what we perceive it to be. If we expect things to go our way or strive for something that may or may not be attained, or for something that, to change that may not happen, then we create our own suffering. And if we attach ourselves to what has happened in the past or what might happen in the future, stress and frustration really grows. Also, our limiting beliefs and meanings stop us from seeing what is possible. So, limiting our openness suffocates our unlimited potential. For example, there's no way I can do that. Stop, right? That's it. There's no way I can do that. So there's no possibilities in that. So according to some psychologists, the core mindful practices of intention, attention, and attitude lead to a fundamental shift in perspective called reperceiving. And this too came from the University of Minnesota. I'm going to give you the details on that later on. Reperceiving allows us to disidentify from thoughts, emotions, and body sensations as they arise and simply be with them instead of being controlled or defined by them. So we realize, this thought is not me, or these thoughts are not me. This cultivates the ability to see the situation as it really is. And as we do more and more of this, it takes practice. Our confidence and ability to cope, it grows. And we are less likely to become stressed by events that would have previously felt like a threat. We develop the ability to not act or react to every emotion or thought we have. So mindfulness is an effective route to emotional regulation. We're back in the car. Cute, cool hybrid, right? So we're late, we're in a traffic jam, and somebody cuts you off. Whoa! Oh, what the heck? What is wrong with that person? What's going on? But there was no accident. You made it through, and you continue your way to work, or wherever you're going, grocery store. Okay, so 2 hours later, all of a sudden you say to somebody, "You wouldn't believe what happened to me earlier this morning. This person cut me off. He was so rude. What was going on? I can't believe it. What is wrong?" All of a sudden, again, your amygdala kicks in. You're out of that intention to pay attention with just what is at the moment. And again, you're in the stress mode. Next week, "You wouldn't believe what happened to me next week or last week." You know, that kind of thing. So it's just reliving that whole thing, even though there's absolutely no danger right at this moment. So we do that a lot. I've caught myself doing it. It's just, oh gosh. Anyway, that's pretty hard. So, let's go back to our raft a moment. I'm going to take myself back to the raft. Text messaging. It's a brilliant thing. It's really effective. But it's also a brilliant way to miscommunicate how you feel and misinterpret what other people mean. So 58% of communication is through our body language. 35% is vocal tone, pitch, emphasis, and 7% is through the content of a message. So if you're in a text messaging scenario with somebody and the last thing they text to you is, "That's just fine." That's just fine. In their mind, that's just fine. You receive it, whoop, whoop, and you're all of a sudden you can misperceive it. You can go, "That's just fine? No. What do you mean?" You know, so it's very easy to miscommunicate through a text message. So I just wanted to make sure that it is very important to not react to a certain text message and perceive it to be maybe something that it's not. So I'm going to suggest just these simple little things to take with you on your daily life. To practice them, just micro moments. And that's how you begin, just micro moments of paying attention, setting the intention to pay attention. And to hold on to those moments the more and more you practice them. So the first thing is pause. When you're in a situation that you feel like is a little bit of a challenge, pause and breathe. That pause gives the ability to accept the present moment reality, an invitation to stop, inquire and be curious, and recognize what is. So, and the intentional deep breath calms the nervous system to prevent the overreaction. So then you can really just all of a sudden say, okay, I've got to come back to my intention to pay attention to what's going on here. And I don't have to overreact. There was a quote that somebody gave me the other day, and I just thought it was really kind of nice. There is in you something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. And that's by Howard Thurman. So, this is the next thing I would love for you to practice, is set your intention to pay attention without judgment. Observe what you are feeling in your body. What are you thinking? And what other possibilities exist? Because in those small moments, we can create a space so that we can ask ourselves the big questions. When you bring kindness to your practice, accepting thoughts and feelings as they are, it's just that part of self-compassion. You don't have to judge what comes in those thoughts. You can be curious and explore it with a new set of lenses. So we'll go back to another car story. You're driving your cool hybrid. And you're aware and you're in the moment. So you're setting your intention to pay attention right at this moment. You're driving. We're not thinking about work. We're not thinking about lunch. And so you're doing your mirror checks and you're viewing your surroundings. You notice a large vehicle approaching quickly, and you're ready to take action because you were already alert, you were already in your moment, and you easily avoid any collision. They fly by you, you breathe, you calm yourself, and then thinking, wow, that guy must be having a hard day. Then you let it go, and you're back on your raft. Just like that. That was it. And here is the third thing I would love to share, and this is something that I really love to do as much as possible, is reconnect with nature. When you're in nature and you're curious about everything that's going on around you, and you're hearing and immersing yourself in every moment in sight and sound, it's very difficult to be stressed. So nature walking, gardening, and being anywhere near water, I find those things to be incredibly helpful. Take a break. Be in that beautiful nature and reconnect with it. Has anyone ever seen Fantastic Fungi? I just watched it for the first time the other night. It's on Netflix. Well, that was an eye-opener. I highly encourage watching it. But I'm gonna read to you something that really struck me when I was watching Fantastic Fungi. Would you be surprised to know that the original internet is actually 1.3 billion years old? That's right. The World Wide Web mimics the very first organism on Earth, fungi. Mycelium, or the branching thread-like vegetative portion of fungi, is like the internet under our feet. It's the network, it's like a superhighway of vital information between the natural world, transferring the right nutrients to the right plants to ensure optimal vitality and nutrient density. It also helps detoxify, purify, and recycle soil to ensure plants can grow in the most nutrient-rich conditions. It links the natural world as the internet links humanity at a speed and accuracy that defies man or woman. We can see this expression of biomimicry all around us. The internet, as a symbolic expression of the mycelium network, is just one example. Many things in nature are reflected in man or woman-made creations, sometimes unconsciously. So we have an incredible underground community of miracles of life everywhere here on Earth. It flows, it's balanced, it nurtures, and it understands. Love, love. So, just to be a little note here, mindfulness is not a cure for severe anxiety or severe depression and suicidal thoughts. Please talk to somebody you trust, either your health care professional or a local crisis number. There is nothing wrong with you. Reach out if you need help. You are so important. You know, there's been recently a lot of talk about mental and emotional health. Again, as you know, during this pandemic, so many people suffering with depression and high anxiety and such. In my mind, and I've worked on anti-stigma events in Canada at the Canadian Mental Health Association, an event called Let's Talk. And it was basically all about reducing the stigma of mental health. So where it's coming to is we're trying to get to the point where talking about mental health is as normal as talking about our knee pain, so that we don't have to be afraid to talk about it. Because folks, as you know, we are one in this very challenging world. We're in this together with our common humanity, and so let's hold hands with each other and be on our mindful journey together. This is love. And just to share with you some of my resources, the Robbins Madonna's Institute of Strategic Intervention, it's in California. That's where I was certified as a coach. I find them just amazing. It helped me so much. You know, as you're training to become a coach, you have this amazing transformation yourself. And there's, you know, and I have to work on it all the time, just like all of us do. We have to keep practicing and learning every day. So I want to give a big shout out to them. And a lot of my information is through Sounds True as well. It's called Insights at the Edge. There's a radical compassion challenge that I found through Sounds True, but there's a whole other vast array of information on mindfulness and brain health and compassion, and it's just this beautiful wealth of information. The University of Minnesota as well, which I have mentioned throughout this talk, the Earl E., I think it's called Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing. So I highly encourage, it's a great resource, all kinds of information on mindfulness in every aspect. So it's an excellent learning tool. And folks, that's what I have for you today. I would love to take some questions if you have any. Thank you. I would love to take some questions if you have any. So Erin has the microphone, so if you have a question, just raise your hand and Erin will come and give you the microphone to ask a question. Well, that was easy. Well, fine, that's terrific. I'll hang out for a couple more minutes if you want to come ask me a few things on your own. That's just great individually. That's not a problem at all. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. Namaste, and have a lovely rest of your day.